John Palatinos, I think the last survivor of the beefcake era. Is that true?
It possibly could be true, yes. I think most people that I've talked to, people who are my contemporaries, I had a contemporary called Bob Miser, who worked with Athletic Model Guild, and then we had Bruce from Los Angeles and Lon of New York, who are all passed away. So I might very well be the very last one from the beefcake area.
Yeah. So, John, we met last year the first time. Bernd introduced me to you. You had here some exhibitions,
Yes.
and I was so impressed. I was so impressed about your story. And yes, let me share this story to my audience. It's fantastic. I think you had such a fantastic life so far, and yeah, maybe we can try to figure it out a little bit.
All
Yeah.
right.
Can you start to tell us about the beginning of your photography?
Well, yes, I started really as an amateur. I never went to a school for photography, so I was self-trained. So when I first started photographing young men, the photographs were really pretty bad. And as I kept doing it, they got better and they got better. And so finally, I thought they were good works.
And when was it?
That was beginning like in 1953.
Yeah.
And so then we had small magazines that in those days that were devoted to physique photography.
Yeah.
So I sent some of these my photographs to the magazines, and they thought they were very good. And so I said, well, that's fantastic. And they said, in fact, if you want to continue doing these, we can give you some free advertising, and you can sell your photographs.
Right.
Which is exactly what I did. And that was in 1954 that started.
Yeah.
So and then I started continued doing that work. Well, at some point I decided that I wanted to do nude photographs. Well,
Yeah.
that was a very bad thing to do, because in those days in America in the 50s was a very repressive time, both for gay people, and also you could not send nude photographs through the mail. But I thought I was not doing pornography, I was just doing photographs of beautiful young men.
Yeah.
And so they were nude, but there was only one person in the picture. They didn't have any erections. They weren't touching themselves, so I never thought that they were pornography, that they were just pictures of beautiful young men. But apparently the Post Office Department of the United States saw it differently, and so they infiltrated my mailing list,
Yeah.
and they with the New York City Police Department, they raided my studio and took everything. They took my cameras, my lights, my negatives, my photographs,
yeah.
my mailing list, everything they could. They cleaned the place out. So I was absolutely destroyed and put out of business.
So this sounds a little bit tragic, huh? Because you.
Well, it was tragic at the time. For the first 2 weeks, I simply sat there and stared into space, thinking, well, I was not a bad person. Why was I being arrested for doing something I thought was beautiful? And so I finally got over it. And after a few weeks, and my attorney said, John, I think you should not really continue doing this. It's a very difficult time. You got out of this pretty easy, so let's just close the door on that part of your life, which I did.
Okay. Coming back to the beginnings,
Yes.
because I think you started, yeah, like me, for example, you started to shoot physical athletes, good-looking, sportive guys.
Yes, these were this was the beginning. Everybody's working fitness, everybody has a good body. In those days it was very rare, so these were early young men who were doing physical fitness in that time. And so they wanted to see their progress, how they looked, how their pecs were looking, and how their arms were looking. And so this was a wonderful thing to have photographs to show their family, their friends, their girlfriends, how they were doing.
But wasn't it maybe also for the gay scene? Is that?
Well, yes,
mean,
I think most of my customers were definitely gay. The idea was that we were doing art photographs for, for artists and sculptors to use. Well, yes, that may have been true in some cases, but most of this was for a gay audience.
But I mean, was it not more than a replacement, because there were no porn magazines at that time, and
No, there were
gays didn't had any chance.
No, that's true.
to buy
We had
stuff
magazines
like
like nudist magazines, which photographed nude pictures. They mostly showed a few men and many times families. So it was a family-oriented thing early
Yes,
on.
that's what I mean.
And so from that, then it was the only thing that was available. And then, of course, people took pictures of themselves privately and exchanged them. But the little small magazines that came out, like Tomorrow's Man and Vim and Body Beautiful, were the first little really small, and they were very small magazines to start, very tiny ones. You could put it in your pocket.
That's what
and
I mean,
then
yeah.
the bigger, large format magazines came out later. And of course, now we have opened the floodgates. There's so many fantastic pictures. You know, every day we are overwhelmed with pictures of beautiful men.
Yeah, but people like you, like Bob Miser, I know Bob Miser. You build up a special audience by mailing list, or how do you do that?
Well, what I used to do, I used to do 4 models each month.
Yeah.
Each month I would find 4 boys who wanted to be photographed,
Oh, yeah.
or men who wanted to be photographed, and we would send out a small card with very, very like postage stamp size photographs of them. And if you liked them, you could order them. And there were sometimes, we showed in the little card we sent out each month, we showed 4 small shots. Then you could order as many, but there were usually probably 6 or maybe 12 of these different photographs. So
Yeah.
you see the man from the back, from the front, from the side, different costumes, different poses. So that's how you build up your business.
Okay.
And then when I started, of course, doing the nudes, and I set out on my mailing and said, you will not be disappointed, you will definitely be getting a nude picture. Well, that opened up the floodgates, and suddenly I was making a lot of money for a very short period of time.
Yeah. And John, let me allow a very big jump into our times now. I mean, isn't it amazing? The internet age, the mobile phones can send pictures in 1 second around the world.
Well, it's absolutely fantastic.
What do you think about that? I mean, the generation porn. What do you think about them?
Well, I think, I think sometimes we're overwhelmed with too much porn. And sometimes there's some artistry to the thing, and sometimes there's not. I like to look at nude pictures. I think most gay men like to look at nude pictures. But I think it has to have some art to the thing. It can't be just a simple picture of a boy showing a big cock or something like that. It has to have some art to it. So, but I think it's wonderful, yes, that we can disseminate all this stuff so freely and so openly. That's a wonderful thing that's happened in my lifetime. From being totally covert to being now really almost totally open.
But to be honest, what you told me in our talks, you had a very, very open life.
Yes,
I think you had more courage than many other people. You did a lot of things, huh?
Well,
whatever you like.
I never felt very much put upon, or that I was being hurt or repressed by my government. Or in that time, I say 1950s were a very difficult time for gay people, a very repressive time. It was McCarthy era, I'm sorry. And but I never felt put upon. I was always my own person. I was always who I am today. I was never pretending I was something else and it was straight. So I was but open and honest, and I always felt that each decade of my life was a wonderful time for me, and I feel the same way today. Now in 1 month I will be 83 years old, and I feel that I'm having just a wonderful time now in my life as I had early on.
Yeah, I think it is so fantastic, and I tell you, I'm very impressed about that. And I want to point it out because I know many things about you. I want to point it out how can I say, extreme life you had. I mean, I don't want to ask you about your sex life, but I know...
Oh, you can do that.
Can I?
Yes, I'm open about that too.
Can I? Okay, tell us about it. No, but you lived a very... how can I say, extreme life, I think.
Yes, I mean, I think it's very important in your life that you're always interested in what's going on in the world. What's over the hill and around the corner. You must always have that wonderful interest in life. If you don't have that, you might as well be dead. It's very important to me, and so many people don't have that interest to know what's, I say, around the corner and over the hill.
Yeah, but again, what you tell me in many talks, I think it's amazing. It's amazing. You lived your life in the 60s, 70s, and that were times, I guess, with a lot of sex, wasn't it?
Well, I think the craziest period was, of course, after Stonewall in 1968. The 70s were really kind of the most fantastic, really open time, I think, for gay people, because it was a sexual revolution and everyone was having a tremendous amount of sex and taking drugs and dancing and having a wonderful life. I've liked I should love every decade of my life. But I have to say the 70s were really a fantastic time for me, and for particularly in America. It was a wonderful liberation of life.
I think it was like not all, but people now speak more about sex than doing it, and you did it in the 70s especially. I think it was a very, very open time, huh?
Well, yes, it was, because I never felt sexually depressed, but a lot of people were in those times, and they were very quiet about their sex lives, and many of them were always in the closet. I was never in the closet. When I decided to be a gay man, I simply came out, and I was always a gay man, and that happened when I was about I think 19 or 20 years old, and I never looked back. And it's been now after the fact, all this time I feel it was been a wonderful life. I don't regret one thing about it.
And you look, I don't know if this is the correct expression in English, but you look so life fresh with your age.
Well,
so you look happy. You look.
I am happy, and I have. And even at this point in my life, I'm always making and meeting new people, making new friendships, meeting new people. So that's a wonderful thing. You must always do that. And I really also associate myself with a lot of younger people who are considerably younger than me. People,
That's true, yeah.
I have friends who are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. And it's very important to keep yourself fresh and interested in life. And young people to bring a certain excitement to your life too, because you don't get bogged down and feeling sorry for yourself. You're out in the mainstream of life, and that's very important. I've been very fortunate to have lived a long life. When I was a young man, everybody wanted to live to the year 2000. Well, I thought that was my goal, to live to the year 2000, but I never really quite thought about living to 2012. Or 2012. So here I am, 2012, and maybe I have a 2013, 2014, 15, who knows? So we never know, but I had to say I had an absolutely wonderful life.
Great. Coming to the end, so tell us about your life now, because, for example, in Berlin, or especially in Europe, you're doing some special things here, exhibitions.
Yes, we've been very successful. Our first exhibition was done in Paris at the Galerie au Bonheur du Jour. And that was a very successful opening for Europe. Since then, we also had a show in Antwerp, and we had a very successful show also in Berlin. And we have shown us our plan for Cologne, and we're going to Warsaw, and we're going to be doing another small show here in Berlin. That's why I'm here now. And in the future, we have plans next year to do London, and also to do what we call our coming home show in New York City, which will be a very big show. But like many Americans, I've had my biggest success here in Europe. And I feel like Josephine Baker. She came here, a black woman, and she was not accepted in America, but she became a big star. Then she came back to America, and she was a big star. So I feel I've been found and made a big success for myself here in Europe first.
So that must be fantastic.
It is. It's a wonderful experience to have at this point in my life.
Yeah, and I mean, you started your young life as a photographer, then they don't allow you to continue this life. You did some totally different, no, not totally different, but you were always a creative man.
Yes, I think it was. I also, after I stopped doing the physique photography, I worked as a creative director in a fashion photography studio. So I've always been involved in some aspect, either in front of the camera or behind the camera. So yes, I've always been in that general area.
And you started it, and you end, or not you end, but
don't say
no. My
yet.
English is not very fluently. But now you are at that your age. You came back to this photography field, and you do exhibitions. That's fantastic, honestly.
It is. Well, I mean, I've been so inspired that I've taken now. I just by accident I photographed a young man who wanted to be photographed, and the photograph came out so beautiful that I thought, well, possibly maybe I should pick up the camera again and do some more work. And of course, I still take pictures as a tourist when I go to different countries. I take a lot of photographs, but I have not really sat down and done very serious work in the physique photography area for like 55 years.
Yes. Okay, John. I know you have the next appointment because I am so curious about other things. I know that you are very interested in creative stuff or in ballet. You are sponsor of ballet dancing companies
Yes.
and so many other things. And I know that you are very intelligent and you're reading your newspaper every hour, every day.
That's true.
Every day, I think 2 or 3 hours in New York Times. I think this is so interesting.
Yes, well, I think we should always remain contemporary. We should
Yeah.
always know what's going on in the theater and going on in the arts and ballet, dance, all those things. We must always be contemporary.
You're visiting exhibitions in Miami and all over the
Absolutely.
world. And so interesting, but I think we have to end here. But thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It
Thank
was
you.
an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much, and I wish you all the best. And I'm sure we will hear many, many nice stories about you in
Once
the future.
Again, once again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.